Hi, welcome to Just Common Sense. My name's Brian Harrison. Hey guys, it's been a few days since I spoke with you. We had, of course, Jerry on the other day. Well, guess what? We got special guest on tonight. Larry is here and he is calling in, and we are going to talk with him. And he's got a lot to say tonight. He's been on the show before, but it's been quite a while. So, Larry, how are you doing out there?
Brian, I'm doing great. Really good to chat with you again. Thanks for having me back on your show. I've been listening to you whenever I can, and I've thoroughly enjoyed your topics, what you talk about. I listened to you and Jerry the other day discussing certain issues. It was very upbeat, very enjoying, and quite to the point. You're making a big mark out there, so it's a pleasure to be here. Like you said, it's been a while. It's probably been a couple of months for me since I've been here. And so many things have happened in our country that we talked about back then, which I think might have been mid-August,
Right.
that continually happen on a daily basis. So much so, I can't even keep up anymore. All I know is it's adverse for the average American citizen.
Right.
So, hey, it's great to be here. Hey, where do you want to begin, Brian?
So, a couple things I want to talk about. First of all, I am going to bring up something because this is going to go into what Bill de Blasio is trying to push on the New Yorkers right now in the city of New York. But we're going to go there in just a second. I do want to bring up something, of course, with Fauci that I brought up the other night, which I call Fauci this little evil scientist from World War II that you hear about who experimented on people, which is
Oh,
not
Dr. Mengele.
not
Yes.
even not even far off. It is who he is. He's a monster. He should be in prison. That's it. Prison. This guy experiments on animals. He's a monster. He's probably the worst human being on this planet. I don't even consider him a human being, but that's my choice to say that. I don't like saying bad things about people, but anybody that does what he does, it's bad. But so I want to go somewhere with this because he got backed up in a corner today. I saw it on the news. I had a conversation with Jerry the other night, and I said this happened. I said it from the get-go. I talked about the different variants, what's going to happen. And now we got this new one out that they hyped up, and of course, as I said, it didn't even come out of Africa. It came out of a whole different part, but even the president down there is like, why is everybody getting so hyped up about, why is the news media going crazy over this new variant? Well, guess what? Fauci himself said today, well, we're starting to see there's not as many hospitalizations. It's not going to be as bad as the Delta variant. Well, guess what? We go back to the Delta variant. I have already said the Delta variant was going to spread like wildfire. It's not going to kill as many people. Sure, it's going to kill some elderly and things like that. It can happen. You can get a flu when this happens. And the one before that was stronger. A virus, I've said it before, gets weaker and weaker, and its purpose is to keep the host alive because it doesn't want to die. That is its purpose. Do your research, people. Don't just listen to the news. Don't listen to your friends. Go in there, study, read. If you know how to read, that's something you need to do because that's important. That's what a lot of you went to college for and schools, not to listen to the fake crap they're sending out in these schools and trying to push this among the American people, these schools. These people are not teachers anymore, a lot of them. And that's a problem here. That's a very bad thing. And now we're going to go into this with Bill de Blasio today. First of all, this is his last term. He's done. He's just trying to destroy more life out there, like New Yorkers, what's going on with these people. Look, there are good New Yorkers out there, and New Yorkers are fighting this. They are not happy about this. Look what it did with Biden. How far did he go with it? He tried to push it. Look at all these courts that are involved now. It's not happening, and it's not going to happen there. What he's doing isn't even legal. He's basically, like I said, Larry and I have talked about this, and a couple of us talked about this. This guy's a Marxist, just like our so-known fake president. I call him Joe Biden. I'm not considering him my president. But again, this is what they are, and they're trying to destroy this country, and I'm not happy about what's going on out there. Neither is anybody else. What's your opinion on this, Larry?
Well, that was a mouthful, bro.
It is, because I don't like this stuff when I'm
Oh,
hearing
I'm
this
I'm
today.
with you 100%. And again, I'm a guy who's got a great job. I got a great career. I've got family. I live a blessed life. I'm building a home that's, a couple miles from the beach if we ever get a window. That's another story.
We'll talk about
So
that.
it's hard for me. It's hard for me to really dig in and find out what's going on with these tyrants, these Marxist tyrants, as you use the term. I got the term Marxist out of Mark Levin's book, American Marxism, which I did read, and does give you a lot of very, very good points to the effect where you can almost predict what these guys are going to do. Now, you mentioned Fauci. Fauci, if memory serves, just a couple of weeks ago,
Yep.
he had lasers on him. I actually thought he was going to be charged with a crime, lying to the American people. What
Absolutely.
was
He
it?
should
Rand
be.
Paul was grilling him to no end.
Ted
And
Cruz is
Fauci's
another one.
response,
Yep.
their elitist response is, you don't know what you're talking about. And, that doesn't get a pass anymore
Right.
with the American people.
Right.
So today, enter this Bill DiCamio, this quack who has turned New York into Escape from New York, the movie from the 80s, if you
Right.
will.
You're going right where
You're
I'm
not
getting ready
going
to
to
go
tell
with this.
me.
Yeah.
If someone says to me, okay, it's mandatory. You need to get that stuff stuck in your body. Well, first of all, this is my body. This is my choice. Okay. I had this virus. We've talked about this before. I had it before, and I have family. So I was concerned, how is this, what I went through, going to affect maybe my brother or my niece or my sister-in-law? I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. So I consulted with my doctor, and I actually consulted with a surgeon. And they both told me, for the most part, one and done. When you get that virus, like I did, and look, it was kind of like the flu. It wasn't fun, but I made it. I came through the other side.
Right.
You have antibodies. They've done studies. They've done bone marrow studies. There is a antibody process in the human system, having had that virus, that literally attacks anything that breathes on that person. So it's kind of one and done. The odds of getting it again, you're better off probably getting hit by lightning or knowing the next 6 numbers of the lottery. And when I heard that, and then I got to go, to certain places, and I see people wearing masks, and I see people in their cars with a mask on, and they pull the mask away from their face to have a cigarette butt. It's lunacy. It's ludicrous. It's ridiculous. So here comes Bill de Blasio. He sort of reminds me, and thank heavens I don't live in New York, because I would not listen to what this guy says. He sort of reminds me of the regime of 1937, 1938, Hitler and his brown shirts. You're not going to do this because this is good for you. You're going to do this because I say so.
Right.
That's all this is. It's a power grab. And I don't know how much longer he's going to be in office.
Not much.
But if he takes a look around, hands down, this is not constitutional. This is not Nazi Germany. This is America. And even if for some reason they were able to say, okay, everybody has to get a shot, how are you going to enforce that? You can't. You cannot do that.
No.
So that's my thoughts on this guy. Again, we don't live up there. Thank heavens we don't.
Right.
But I see the protests. I see all the signs. People don't want to get it done, and they're not going to get it done. And Biden, he keeps trying. And they have it in their sick, twisted, square-headed leftist brains that they really believe this is the right thing to do. Now, there's another part of that. Mm-hmm. It's the power grab. Right. If you let them manipulate your body and what you put into it, we're done. Your feet are up in the air. You're done. So it's not going to happen to me, and it's not going to happen to you. Right. It's not going to happen to a lot of good Americans out there, because we've had enough.
Yeah. And guys, we're not anti-vaccine. What we are is freedom of choice, and we've said that before. Now, I do want to go in.
I want to elaborate, Brian.
Go ahead.
Had I not gotten that virus, I probably would have gotten the vaccine.
Right.
My brother did. His wife did. Mm-hmm. Most folks that I know have gotten it done. But the more I discuss my scenario and my right not to have it done because I already went through it and have the antibodies, I meet so many people who are so against it. And
Sure.
they haven't even gotten the
Right.
virus.
Right.
I did.
Well, and keep in mind, Larry, there's a lot of people who've gotten the virus and realize, oh, I just have a sinus infection. Some people don't
Right.
show symptoms at all, so that some of them don't even know they've had the virus. And,
Exactly.
like a
I know some folks like that.
Right.
A sore throat, and they tested positive, and they're like,
yeah.
really? I
Yeah.
got it? And they're back at work the next day. Now, in my case,
Right. Well,
I was quarantined for 14 agonizing days. After the 5th or 6th day,
yeah,
I was climbing the walls.
Yeah.
I'm not built to stay indoors.
Right. You said they're back at work the next day. I'm not sure about that because they got to be cleared
This
negative.
is true.
Just
This is true. You hear so many stories.
Yeah.
You really can't.
Right.
Again, I've got a job. I work. I've got family. I can't keep up with all of it.
No. We can't do shutdowns and all that anymore. The economy, the country can't do it. We're already seeing inflation, what's going on with that, and the failure of the Biden administration. Also, I do want to bring up something about Bill de Blasio here. Let's talk about what's really going on up there. Bill, you're chasing people out of New York is what you're doing. You're chasing companies out of New York. A lot of them are going down to Florida, where you got a great governor in Florida. Yet you got yourself up there as a failure. You're the worst, one of the worst mayors in history. You're going to be marked as. How do you like going out on that note? One of the worst mayors in history. So you need to go look at yourself in the mirror tonight and realize that is your legacy to life. And that's what you did.
You also need to consider what he's doing.
Yes.
And what other cities are doing. People are saying, no, I'm not going to have it done.
Correct.
So what's happening, this is affecting the workforce. It's affecting our healthcare system because doctors and nurses, they don't want to get the shot.
Of course
so
not. There's a lot of them that don't.
The job. They're walking off the job. What
Right.
about a month ago when an airline, whom of which I wrote to by way of email, thanking their employees for doing what they did.
Right.
There was this one evening where 1,800 flights were closed, or rather shut down.
Yep.
And they said it was because the media. They said it was because of weather.
Right.
Well,
weather.
it wasn't.
No.
It's because the majority of those good folks that fly on those planes, they're military, and they know what tyranny is. So they took a stand and made a statement.
And they did a great job.
Oh, it was fantastic. So what you're doing now, I want to go to the doctor. I need a nurse to help me out. I sprained my ankle. There's nobody there because they were forced off the job because they were threatened to have crap stuck in their arm.
Right.
And that's another big portion of this that people don't seem to pay mind to.
Right.
And we watch this and we hear this, and it happens all day long. So.
Yeah, no, I get it, definitely. And so you're looking at a variety of things that, obviously, with this mayor, what he's doing, and he's getting attacked a lot tonight. I'm hearing it from certain media sources out there. Companies are going after him right now with what he did today. They're like, look, guys, we cannot do this. It's just going to close some of these companies down because some of these employers are going to say, hey, I'm out of here. And they're going to lose people. This is what this guy's doing. This is what the radical left does. And they just, I really, really want to say, I don't know where they got their college degrees from and where their thinking is, but they don't have common sense at all. And that's what this show really is about. And I've called many of them to come up on my show or to come to my show, get on the phone, talk to me, go to my email. And I'm going to give that website right now, just so you guys know out there, say that again. I started saying Jerry. Jerry's got me thinking it's his show after the other night. That's the funny thing, because Jerry's like,
Jerry's good, man. He knows his stuff.
He knows his stuff, but it's not your show, Jerry, so shut up. He's already trying to get my cat. Now he's trying to take my show. What's next? No, you can't have my car. No, anyway, www.just-the-markcommonsense.com. Again, www.just-the-markcommonsense.com. Scroll down to my email. Send me some email. I've been getting quite a bit of email, guys, so definitely give me feedback. And again, if any of you want to get on the show, go for it. Let's talk about it. Especially any of you senators, governors, I'll talk to any of you, and I will keep it nice and neat, even though I may not agree with everything. But again, I'm willing to talk to you. I've called several of you out in the past. Some of you are too coward to even talk to me. And I noticed you stopped talking. Go ahead.
You'll note that when they do
come
on to make a statement, they hide behind the cowardice of CNN
Right.
and MSLSD.
Sure.
Was it
Oh yeah, yeah.
MSNBC? Is that who they are?
Yeah, yeah.
They hide behind these people because they know that they're in good company. They're
Yeah.
not going to come on a show like yours. They're not going to
Of
come
course
on a
not.
show
They're
like
too
Mark
scared.
Levin's or
Right.
Dan Bongino because
Right.
they know they'll be challenged with reality.
And they don't know how to debate in the right way. That's the
No,
thing. If
no,
they
they
have
don't. They
if
don't.
we had a true debate and you could prove your point, it'd be a different story. But again,
Right.
they hide behind that. They're too coward to talk about it because they don't know how to debate. And that's a big problem when you're going to have a governor or a mayor or somebody run that state. And we see the failures of what's going on, obviously, from California to to Michigan and all up there. We see what's going on in New York. I mean, this is a problem. So we're seeing it, and they're failing badly. And we see where things are going great at, like Florida and Texas and a couple other states out there. And I want to remember this state. I just heard it. Was it Oregon? I can't remember. They're talking about making masks in that state permanent. It's a Democratic run state.
Indoors.
What was that?
I can't remember the state. You're right.
Oregon?
Permanent masks
Oregon?
indoors with your family.
Oregon.
So when you're in bed, you have to sleep with a mask on. When you're in the bathroom, you have to have your mask on. Once again, Brian.
Yep.
This is not Nazi Germany.
No.
You're never going to force the American people. The American people have the strongest will than any other people out there.
That's correct.
Except for the Marxist puppets, and you and I know who they are.
Absolutely.
They're all over the place. They're the ones that go on Fake Book Daily and still pick at President Trump. They still call us Trumpers and whatever the heck it is. And they don't know what reality is. What they do know is what their king tells them to do. And they bow like little tiny sheep.
Correct.
That doesn't happen in this country.
Right.
That's why we're the greatest country on earth.
Yeah, and we see it in many different places. So, all right, let's move on. We want to bring a good tribute right now, and I really want to talk about this because this is a very, very big day coming up tomorrow. And I know Larry wants to talk about it, and you guys know how I feel about our military. We've talked about my father. We've talked about him being a Fox company. Larry's read the book. And we definitely want to talk about Pearl Harbor. And you know what? I wonder how many of you people remembered what's going or remembered what's going on tomorrow. If you keep that in your hearts and your memory about December 7th.
Right.
So, Larry, I'll let you talk about because this is a big thing for Larry tonight. Go for it.
Yeah, it is. And I appreciate that. I recently lost an uncle. He finally passed away. He was probably 2 months shy of his 100th birthday.
I'm sorry.
And I had the privilege of sitting down, or I'll say I had the honor to sit down with this man a couple nights about 10, 11 years ago. And we started talking about World War II. And he was in Germany for 4 years. And he told me, you didn't do a year. You didn't come home until it was over. And he did come home. He had some physical ailments, ulcers and things like that. God knows what he went through.
Right.
And I was in his living room, and a World War II program was on, and it was about the concentration camps in Germany.
Right.
And we're watching it, and I'm looking at the man's face, and he says, "You see that?" He goes, "I was there. I was there." And then we started talking about certain instances, and he told me that there were 7 times in his life over there where it was either him or me. And my uncle came home. He came home. So I can't imagine what he went through. He was a reserved fellow. He was not a flamboyant guy. He had his house, he had his wife, and he had his pretty little Cadillac, and he just kind of skated through life. But he was not somebody that took lightly to liberalism. I remember years ago when I was with him, there was a morning show, USA Today, whatever. I don't know what it was. And it had something to do with what Obama was doing. And he stopped and he looked at me and he says, this country is almost in the same condition it was before I went over to Germany in World War II. And it gave me the chills because I wasn't really paying attention.
Right.
to what was happening.
Sure.
This man was retired. He was paying attention. So I was always someone, I love to read history books, and I've read a lot about World War II and what our guys and gals did there. I've read a lot about, the attack on Pearl Harbor. Was it a conspiracy? Did Roosevelt know about it? Probably not.
Yeah.
But there was, when you look back on this, and to my point, I'm going to a particular place with this.
Sure.
This was America's greatest generation. These guys faked their age to get in.
Yeah.
After Pearl Harbor was attacked, they were angry. They were enraged. And, you look at the Arizona, I think it was 7:02 a.m., 7:03. It blew up. It took out 1,177 men immediately,
right,
including 30 pairs of brothers.
Right.
And you just look at that era and that fight for liberty and freedom, and then World War II, which lasted so long. And then I put the TV on, and I see a story about a college that does not want Kyle Rittenhouse to come into the school. And this puke, this measly little weasel, this American who has reaped the benefits of what these men and women did for us 80 years ago tomorrow, if you will, and then on for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
He's got a sign on his chest that says, "I hate America." Now,
get out.
What are you teaching these kids to make them think like that?
Right.
So my trivia for tomorrow, I remember it.
Right.
I only remember because my uncles were there. When I first started working for a living, I was in my early 20s. I worked for this big soup company in Camden, New Jersey. And the men that were in that company, in that drawing room, was an engineering room. They were all World War II vets. There were guys that were POWs. There was a guy that had one leg. He was on the back, the tail of a B-17, I think, and a shell took his leg off. There he is every day, hobbling along with a wooden leg, doing his thing.
Yep.
Those men are all gone today. And I remember those times. I cherish those stories, and I so salute those men and women tomorrow.
Right. And no, I'm there with you. Let me say one thing about this, too. When this war started, and this goes back in the past when people had respect, had morals, loved their country. Do you realize, people, that it wasn't just the military? The whole country pulled together. Everybody pulled together. They started building tanks. They started doing all kinds of stuff. When it was World War II, everything. America pulled together. There was no right, no left. There were a little bit out there, but there were nothing compared to what it is today. Nothing compared about people trying to say, let's hate this country. Let me tell you something. I was in a restaurant the other day, and I actually saw somebody, and this is the laziness of what these kids are growing up with. Right. And this kid's standing there, and we talk about these kids in their basement, not getting any education, giving money off the free money off the government. Well, let me tell you something. He's in his pajamas. Let me tell you something, guys. If you're going out in your pajamas, give me a break. It is laziness. It is just something that I look at and I just laugh at you. Because, I get up in the morning, I'm up early. I get showered, I get dressed, I'm out, and I'm on time. Let me tell you something. This stuff right here is not anything that's called for. Get out there in your pajamas, have your hair look like you haven't even combed it. Give me a break. Well, I guarantee you're not even getting any dates. I'm telling you what.
Yeah, and they don't really care about that. They got their computers. One of the things that really comes to mind for me with Pearl Harbor is 30 years ago.
Right.
There was a television program, and you can still find it. You can still YouTube it and watch it. It was hosted by David Brinkley, and it was entitled Pearl Harbor: The 2 Hours That Changed the World. And you can still find it. And the program had, back then, those guys were in their upper 60s.
Right.
So they interviewed a guy named Richard Fisk, a guy named Ken Taylor. Ken Taylor was one of the fellows who was able to get up put on a pair of tuxedo pants, and get a P-38 into the air and shoot down a couple of Japanese planes. He may have been no, he wasn't. Strike that. There was another fellow, Richard Fisk, who was on the USS West Virginia. And I watched this a couple of times since 30 years ago.
Right.
So I remember the story. So he's talking, Richard Fisk, he was on the Virginia. He talks about Captain Benning, who had a really bad wound, and he finally died on the bridge of the ship. But he would talk about the terrible tapping after the attack. It was the men stuck in the bottom of these ships trying to get out.
Yeah.
And you would watch him talking about this, and he would say, the tapping finally stopped on December 23rd.
Oh, my God.
And they got the guys out. And when he's talking, the man's in his 70s, he's crying. He's crying. It was an episode that also showed the Japanese. It showed where they were excited about what they were going to do. Yeah. It actually showed the guy who dropped the bomb on the Arizona. He was excited. He did it. Yeah, that's what he said. And my brother and I, we poked fun at that because, it was horrific what they did.
Yeah.
But this was a time where, as you said, America became unified more so than it ever was and will be again.
Right. We
don't have that now, and I don't know what's going on out there. I really don't. So tomorrow, we're not going to see anything about it. The morning schmuck, he's not going to say anything about it. D. Lemon, he's not going to say anything about it. The joyless Reed, she's not going to say anything about it. You might see a tribute on Fox News. But I remember 30 years ago, there were guys in New Jersey that were only a couple towns away from me. They were at Pearl Harbor when that place was attacked. It's just, it's really sad. You've got something like this that's real, but what are they teaching kids now? The 1619 Project.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. All right, so Larry, any more on that?
No, I think that kind of covers it. Being a guy who loves history, it's a very, very big day. It was an honor to chat with my uncle that one night about what he did, and it was an honor to have worked with those fellows at that soup company that were there, that were captured, that were POWs, that had injuries that you could physically see.
Yeah.
And of course we're talking the late 70s. Yeah. So that's all gone now.
Guys, and again, as we always want to say, we thank you for your service. We thank you for the services of all the military and everything, and of course, everything you guys do, and we keep you in our hearts. We already saw the failure in Afghanistan. We are not going to forget. Trust me. I know they're trying to brush that under the rug, but again, and guys, don't forget tomorrow with Pearl Harbor. Keep it in your hearts. This is stuff that should not be forgotten. We were attacked. It was a long time ago, but again, it was a day that'll live in infamy. I remember that, by the way. But it is very important to always keep Pearl Harbor in our hearts and those men, what they went through, what they did back in the day, and what they should be doing now when it comes not to the military, when it comes to the American people, to pull together and be Americans. And that's what the radical left wants. They want to pull and divide, and that's basically what they're trying to do constantly. So,
they have a big advantage in that they have the media. The media is just as radical as they are.
Right, because the media loves to feed off negative. For some reason, negative feeds more for their news source to make money, and that's all they care about. When you see positive out there, seems like people like to watch more negative than positive. That's why they put all these fist fights and stupid things and robberies and stuff on Facebook, Twitter, and all that. Well, not Twitter, but Facebook and a variety of these things out there. You're starting to see it all over social media. You put on other social media sources, you see a lot of that stuff they let go through. They really do. And they're like, haha, that's funny. No, it's not funny. It is not funny. I saw an example. I'm just going to bring this up. I saw an example on one of the news or one of the social media sources, and they're showing a dog swimming across the river, and an alligator grabs him. You know what? And the dog's dead. But the problem is, why show that stuff where kids can see it? These parents,
they think it's funny.
It's not funny. It's not funny. And this goes back on you, the parents, that allow you to let your children see this, instead of saying, oh, I want to be a parent. Be a parent. Don't just say, oh, I'm a friend with them. No, you're not. Grow or raise them right. Teach them right from wrong. Yes, you can be a friend with them and do things with them, but parent them. Parent them. And just because your parents may not parent you, that may be a problem as well. So anyway, I get fired up on this because I tell you, I have a great father. I have a great mother. They passed away, and they're still looking down on me. And I guarantee they're watching me every second. And you know what? I think about them every day, and I love my parents, and I am proud of the way they raised us. All right, so
I would have to second that with my family. I grew up on a dead end street. 5 houses up from a lake, and my mom and dad, they were so young, and the house next door, my dad was actually born in the bed on the 3rd floor, and then I had a wonderful aunt and uncle across the street. We were surrounded by family, and the values that they instilled in me, the work ethic. I'm not one to sit in mommy's basement and text on the phone all day long, like these losers on Facebook that have these posts that are anti-Trump and anti-American. They are disgraceful.
Right, and that's their parents' fault for letting that happen. If you're I'll tell you what, my father would have said, yeah, you're not staying down here. You either do this or you're out on the street, living on the street.
Right.
And I'm telling you, it would have happened. But also, we're going to bring up another thing. I know Larry and I talked about it briefly before the show. He wants to bring up some stuff, which kind of goes back to Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and going back to Germany, what's going on and how it resembles everything. I'm not speaking right. Well, I've been working all day, by the way, so I'm kind of worn out.
Yeah, me too. But we were chatting about a book that I had read about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. It was a Hampton side story, and it was called Into the Garden of Beasts. And it's a true story. The man was William Dodd. Forgot his wife's name. He had a rather promiscuous daughter, Martha Dodd, and he was picked to be the ambassador to Berlin. Mm-hmm. And they sent him over there. I think it was 1933 when Hitler had just become chancellor, before all the hell had started. Right. And he had this. If I remember correctly, he had this forethought that, Hitler's not that bad. I'll be able to make him a moderate when I chat with him a few times. Well, that was not the case, of course.
Right.
And during the time frame that he was there, the book sort of tells you about Kristallnacht, which was, I think it was, November 1938. What happened was there was a young Jewish boy whose parents had been exiled to a concentration camp by the Nazis.
Right.
So he took revenge. He's 17 years old.
Right.
And he shot a guy. He shot a Nazi dead. So Hitler went to the Nazis' funeral. He died 2 days later. And Joseph Goebbels, the prime minister, the propagandist for Hitler.
Right.
He saw this as an opportunity, and I don't know what buttons he pushed, but that was the Kristallnacht, or the Night of the Broken Glass, was the rage of the Nazis for this one guy being assassinated, because the guy who shot them, their children, his parents had been sent away.
Right.
So they started attacking their religious places, their homes. They were burning, they were pillaging, they were robbing. It was a disaster. It lasted for a couple of days, and 30,000 young Jewish people were sent to a concentration camp. That was the beginning of it. So then you have something else out there that I remember reading about, and I actually brushed up on it this afternoon. Hitler had something called the Hitler Youth,
Mm-hmm.
and he literally canned Boy Scouts in Germany. He
Right. I
made
remember
them,
this. I remember hearing about this.
yeah, he made them a part of the Hitler Youth.
Right.
So 90% of the German kids
Mm-hmm.
from 6 years old up were part of the Hitler Youth. There was a resistance. There was a resistance called the Edelweiss Pirates. 5,000 kids. They used to beat up on these guys because they didn't believe what they were doing. The Hitler Youth, Hitler loved it because what happened? He gained control of the kids over their parents. The parents did not approve of this.
Yeah.
And he caught, or rather they caught, the Nazis, they caught 6 kids without a trial. They hanged them in the streets. So I see a parallel when I read that.
Right.
The end of the Nazi regime, they say one of the most creepy elements of it was the Hitler Youth. And I didn't realize it was that big, because all I remember from the Hitler Youth is right before Hitler shot himself, he was calling on 13-year-olds to go fight. And I read a couple of books about guys who were over there, and they made these 13, 14-year-old kids dig their own graves. And they would look at those American sailors with soldiers, with such hate and contempt, it creeped them out. Needless to say, they didn't kill them. They were just trying to intimidate them.
Sure.
It was a book I read, The Payback or something. But having said that, that parallel, that reminds me of the fuel that was flamed when that black guy was killed last summer, and you've got Antifa and BLM just sitting there waiting in the wings.
Right.
And they accelerate it. They accelerate. They get in there and they burn.
Right.
They destroy and they murder people. It reminds me, Antifa to me, and the description of Antifa is so opposite of what they really are. They really are fascists. They're not anti-fascists. They remind me of the Hitler Youth.
Right.
And I got that out of that book. That was a Hamptons Sides book called Into the Garden of Beasts. And it was pretty creepy.
Wow.
History does repeat.
You know, I'm going to say this too, and this is a little off topic, but I guarantee this guy was with Antifa last night. I was in a store last night, and I was returning something, and it's a let's just say it's a lumber company. I'm not going to mention name. You know the few that are out there.
Right.
So I'm actually in line, and the computer's crashed, and the lines are building up. I'm like, I am right there at the register. So I'm waiting, and there's 3 registers open. They're going through the same thing. Well, there's this lady. She's behind me, and quite a few other people. Well, this one guy has his nice dreads, his pajamas. Looks like he's Antifa, though. He really had that look. There's something but he cuts in front, behind me, cuts in front of the girl that was just the young lady standing there for a while. And she says, "Sir, I was in line." He goes, "I don't want to stand outside, and I'm going to stand here and just, go for it. Go right ahead of you." He basically, he said that word, "I was going to go ahead of you." So at that point, I waited. The registers, they got them fixed. I told the manager who was there fixing. I said, "Look, this guy just cut everybody off. I just wanted you to be aware of it." So the guy standing there, and he thought he was going to go. Guess what? I turned around, and I said to the young lady and the rest of the line, I said, "You're next. You're next." And the guy looks at me, and I said, "You're not going anywhere." And I stood there and blocked him. He backed down real quick.
Good.
Yeah, because I was raised with respect, and you let people go in order, and you do the right thing. And I tell you what, that's what these guys are doing. You stand your ground, they'll back down. All right, so a couple last things. We got to mention this. We had a show the other night. This is how crazy the world's gotten. All right, we talked about a cat the other night that was breastfeeding, and that's another story. Jerry, I did have nightmares. Thanks a lot. It was terrible. My cats were jumping in the bed. I'm like, get out. But, Larry, we are going to talk about AOC and cow farts. What the heck? All right. I heard about this months ago, but go on, Larry. I know you wanted to bring this up. This is something fun to talk about again.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I was at work, and somebody had mentioned something about methane gas and cow farts.
Okay, so here we go.
I googled it. I googled it.
Okay.
And what I found this huge site with extreme serious discussions about kangaroo farts in Australia. And I was laughing so hard I had tears. And anything that I would input it was sarcastic hysteria. It was just so bizarre. So there's a web page on Facebook that is very, very they call themselves political satire, but they're political hate. And any time that I go on there, I see a comment about methane gas. And I chime in. I can't. You got to be careful, because if you say something that's considered to be bullying, you get thrown for 30 days. That's just the way it is. And I get thrown for 30 days all the time. So I question them. Well, guys, I'm really, really concerned about the cow farts. What are you doing to resolve this situation? AOC is really upset, and I understand you guys are too. So the guy actually answered me. He actually answered me.
All right.
And he says, "Are you aware that he's talking about methane gas and it's alarming and all this?" So I wrote him back. I said, "Look, if you think that this is going to have any impact on being able to change the air we breathe, you're dreaming. How could you fall into such a lie?" Which brings me back to Mark Levin's book on the climate change factor. The climate change is nothing but a big giant hoax. Yes, the climate changes. They used to call it global warming. Now it's climate change. They used to call it the ice age in the 70s because we had a real cold winter. And John Mashed Potato Face Frankenstein Curry, he wants to decarbonize the air. So I asked the guy, is John Curry God? Can he do that? It's not possible. And why is it on the heels, or rather on the shoulders, of the American people to supposedly fix something that doesn't need to be fixed?
Right.
It has to do with more taxing, more spending on something that's a total farce.
Yeah, which he's just as guilty himself. He flies around in planes and does, so he's not worried about climate change. He's just in there. Yeah.
No. So that was kind of funny when again, you can go onto any political page that is anti-American on Facebook, and as long as you don't insult them, because you'll get tossed for bullying, you can ask them legitimate questions, and the only thing they will do is attack you.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. It's hard to keep a tone because you and I haven't talked for so long. We can bounce all over the place with different subjects. Sure. But this represents the Marxist. This represents the stupid millennial who listens to what a Marxist, narcissistic president who thinks he's a president says, and they believe everything he does. If he told them to jump off a bridge in January, they'd probably do it. Mm-hmm. So what happens is you have these people like Antifa and BLM, and their leaders are very, very agitated. I read this. So what it means, it makes them agitated, and they're very excited. They're very excited because they have a belief in a utopia. Yeah. The Karl Marx utopia, the Hegel and the Rousseau utopia. The problem is there's never a utopia. It never happens. Right. There's no happy ending. Right. It's just a farce of anger and wanting to change somebody. Yeah. So they come at you, they approach you. Step number one, they want you to believe in what they believe, and you don't. Right. Step number two, they're going to get in your face if you don't believe it. And step number three, they're going to get violent. Yep. And step number four, we the people, need to put them down. So that's the garbage that's out there. That's the parallel with the Hitler Youth.
Right, right. And guys, I want to bring this up. I just remember when Larry says put them down, not mean violently, physically. It means get your congressmen and women, the right ones, out there so they can stop all this. That's exactly right. So just make sure, because somebody will twist that around, as you know, Larry, because they always try to do.
I'm not talking about what they do.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about what they do, although there are exceptions.
Yeah.
But when you go out there and you don't even know why you're doing what you're doing, and you're wearing a sign that says "I hate America," do us all a favor: get the hell out. We don't want you here.
Right. If you don't hate America, get out. There's no reason for you to be here.
We have the ability. We can, if I was retired, I could write my senator every day. I've called him quite a few times. You can write congressmen all the time. You're not going to get responses from them.
Right.
But to what I keep on saying to you, and I said it on your other show when I was, talking with you and Jose and Jerry. Sure. I work for a living. I don't have time to dig into this stuff and keep on objecting.
Sure.
That's what our congressmen are supposed to do.
Right.
That's what our Republicans are supposed to do.
Right.
And they make a lot of noise, but they don't carry any big stick. They don't do anything.
Yeah. Well, there's a few out there that are trying. The problem is they're getting blocked by some of these others. And, so about a week or so ago, and it's going to happen every week, I was speaking to a bunch of senators and stuff in D.C. We talked about it. It's on one of my shows.
Yeah, you told me. That's awesome. Yeah.
Right. It's going to happen again because they told me they'll be inviting me in. I've already got invited the other day. I just didn't have time to talk, and so I let them know. But so I'll be talking to them quite often, and I'm hearing a lot of the stuff that you guys aren't hearing out there, and a lot of truth. And these guys really, and a lot of them do. They have passion. They have love for the country. A lot of them do believe in term limits. They haven't been up there as long as like Pelosi and that nightmare. But, I do want to, and so that's basically it with that. Do you have anything else to say with that, Larry, on the Antifa stuff?
No, I think we've kind of covered it. It's kind of frustrating that it is what it is out there and all the things that we've seen. And it just blows my mind that you have people out there like Gerald Nadler, who still refer to these horrific situations as a peaceful protest. It's just, and a lot of the left out there, they refuse to see reality for what reality is.
Right.
But we all saw it last summer, and we know what happened. It was supposed to be the summer of love. Well, think again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I've got on that.
And then let's talk about that a little bit, because we talked about how things get violent with these guys, but let's really get into it. Oh, first of all, I'm going to say this. January 6th, get over it. January 6th was already, it's done. It was a bunch of stupid people that just do something stupid. We talked about it because I know the first thing we're going to say right here is Trump rallies. I know when we see a Trump rally, we don't see this violence at a Trump rally. Yes, it was some stupid stuff happened January 6th. Yes, Trump said peacefully protest. And that's, guys, Trump's out. All you guys keep doing out there is bringing up Trump, because you have nothing else to talk about. You don't have the intelligence to bring up something else. Trump's out of the equation right now. Yes, he's out there speaking and doing his thing. That's fine. He's not president. We're focused on who's in office right now, which is a complete failure. We see gas prices. Somebody told me gas prices went down today. I said it would go down by 5 cents. Believe it or not.
Well,
we're taking our reserves. Well, hold on, Larry. We're taking our reserves. We're giving some to China now. This is our reserves. Do you know what the reserves are for? They're for our military in case we get in a war. That's really what the reserves were put out there for. And some presidents have done this in the past. Sure, they have. And it's wrong. I don't think we need to dig into that. Go ahead, Larry. I'm sorry.
No, I hear what you're saying about the price of fuel, and I did hear about him, giving some fuel to China. The thing about Biden and his whole administration, including the Attorney General, that Merrick Garland.
Yeah.
You want to talk about January 6th being an insurrection? Yeah. You threaten. American parents, because they don't like CRT being taught in school. You
Right.
call them domestic terrorists. Who the hell do you think you are?
Absolutely.
That's an insurrection. That's an insurrection.
Yep.
Not what happened January 6th. January 6th, you had a couple guys that got into Pelosi's office. They sat in a chair. They put their feet up on the desk. They were holding a laptop. They were taking pictures. Some strange reason, a policeman shot and killed a female veteran. We don't know the stories.
Right.
We never will know the stories. But do you know that if you and I had been standing on that White House lawn that day, we could very well be arrested and thrown in jail?
Sure.
And my brother wanted to go there. He could not figure it out logistically. I'm glad he didn't go.
Right.
Because this is what happens. And once again, you have people. You have Antifa. I wanted to get off this, but you can't because you keep on coming back to it.
Sure.
You have domestic terrorists, BLM and Antifa, burning cities, stopping by and shooting an African American in the head while he's walking his little girl.
Right.
It's on film.
Yep.
That's an insurrection. But they turn their heads. They get a pass.
They do.
And that situation last summer in Oregon, what was it, Chaz? Mm-hmm. And that Oregon mayor, it's going to be the summer of love.
Yeah.
So the issue, what I get out of this is they are terrified of President Trump. They're terrified he's going to resurface. Yeah. So they're going to do anything they can to try to put a lid on him.
Right.
And
that's what this is about. And I've said that before. That's all they're trying to do is just because they don't want him to run in 2024.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you still have Adam Schiff, who seems to soil himself over Trump and Russia. Yeah. We all know now, and we all knew, that the Russia collusion thing was started by Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Trump had nothing to do with it. Not at all.
No, not at all. All right. Well, and the last thing I was going to say, and I'm not going to play the segment tonight, but, Jen Psaki, she was asked a question about Hunter Biden's laptop today and said he's not an employee of the company. She avoided that question so fast because they know what's going on. My only thing with the laptop is this should have been handled a long time ago. It should have been done. It should have been done quick, and that's it. But now they're trying to cover that up like they always do. And that's another story. But go in and check that out today, what she said. Just go and go check out today's portion when Jen Psaki, what she was saying about Hunter Biden's laptop. See how fast she gets off that subject. Guys, anything else, Larry? Because I'm going to end this tonight. We're running close to our hour now. And anything else you want to say?
I wanted to just thank you for having me on. And again, I really enjoyed listening to you and Jerry the other day. And one of the things that you fellas were talking about was Alec Baldwin with this gun scenario where he went on TV and he had the crocodile tears and he said he didn't pull the trigger. Well, somebody did, and the gun was in your hand. And I don't know if you fellas brought this up.
Go ahead.
But to my point, why didn't you say that the moment it happened, the day it happened? Why didn't you claim this so-called story? Why did you wait a couple of months, to suddenly come up with this?
Right.
I would say he's in pretty hot water.
He should be.
To bring it up. Yeah.
He should be. And, it's like I said that the other night on the show. I said, this was in October. Now you're bringing it up now. I said, first of all, that's why Jerry and I talked about Revolver the other night. That's why we talked about safeties. Now we're seeing other actors going after him right now. We see another actor out there. What is his name? He played on Dukes of Hazzard any other time I know his name, but he put a video out there today. How the revolver works, showing the safeties, everything Jerry talked about the other night, and exactly why it's impossible. You've got to have your hand on the trigger when you're doing that hammer on the revolver for it to go off. And that's how those things work. Now, again, these are lies. These are lies that he's coming up with. And I'm going to say, I'm not saying he's emotionally going through this because he's scared right now. And he has every right to be scared. But it's his fault that this happened. Now, I'm not going to say it's first-degree murder or anything like that. No, it's not. But it's still his fault. Let this go through the right system, the courts. Don't let us power actors out there, as I say, with all the money and all, try to bail him out because Right from wrong is where this should go. It should go to the courts. It should go to a jury if it needs to, and it should go through the right processes. And again,
I agree.
he deserves to at least go through the process. But the person who has passed away or dead at this point deserves for this thing to go through the process for her and her family and what really went on here. Because Alec Baldwin, like I always say, an empty gun is a loaded gun. It's your responsibility to check that out. All right, Larry. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this. Anything else, Larry, before I end this?
No, I just want to say, hey, I think you're doing a great job. I've enjoyed listening to you, and you guys get better all the time, and hoping to do it again with Jerry on the line too. How's that?
All right, well, yep, Jerry or Larry. See, Jerry, you're trying to get the show. I'm starting to, Jerry. We're going to talk later.
I want to do the Jerry show. How's that?
Shut up.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on. Stay on the phone. Stay on the phone with me, Larry. I'm going to talk to you after I end the show. Hey, guys, as always, we want to go ahead and thank our military for everything you do. Guys, we love you. We think you're the greatest. We got a big day coming up tomorrow. Keep that in your hearts. Keep that in your memories. Also, we want to talk about our law enforcement. We know you guys are going through a lot right now. As always, we're always there with you. So keep that in mind. Thank you for your service and everything you guys do. Thanks for our first responders, for everything you do. Our farmers, we know you guys are going through a lot right now. Our truck drivers as well, as always bring this up. And I always want to bring up the people that are out there working, trying to make money and collect a paycheck and not having to stay at home and sitting on the couch. Again, thank you guys. God bless you. God bless America, and have a great, great night. And take care, and I'll talk to you in a few days. Thank you. Good night.